Hey, welcome to the lecture for Management 300, Historical Perspectives of Leadership. This lecture will be in two parts, so make sure you listen to part two as well. Yes, it will be on the final exam. In the more recent literature of leadership, like in the last 80 years, there's been four main types of theories, also known as generations of theories: the trait theories, the behavioral theories, the contingency theories, and the transformational theories. I think it's important for people to understand that none of these are mutually exclusive of one another. You will see trait theories in modern leadership. You'll see some mixing and matching going on as well as we continue through the semester. The first generation is called traits, leadership, or looking at the personal characteristics of leaders. The focus is on the individual. I would say these have been probably popular, particularly from the 20s through the 50s, even though in the 40s and 50s we were getting into some other kinds of leadership. The prevailing theories, or the prevailing practices, I should say, of leadership were based on traits. We all know that people who have been labeled as great leaders, it's pretty clear that they have very different qualities. If you look at people like Nelson Mandela or some of our own presidents, Abraham Lincoln, Mohandas Gandhi of India, and some of the corporate leaders that people are well known, and most recently comes to mind maybe Steve Jobs of Apple. Yeah, they're special. The people who began with the traits theories, though, were looking at personality characteristics that would differentiate leaders from their followers. You can pause this at any point and read these traits individually. Let me just point out a couple: decisiveness, physical vitality and stamina. When I ask you to do your surveys of the three people, what do leaders do, or what skills do leaders need to have, you'll probably note that some of the things that people told you are on this list. At first glance, the lists are pretty good. But the problem with this is that the people who were searching for these traits assumed that there was a definite set of characteristics that made a leader. If you had these characteristics, you were automatically a leader, no matter what the situation was. Nowadays, people are looking more at what combinations of traits are good for particular situations. We'll talk about that in a second. After trait leadership kind of ran out of steam, the researchers began looking at what leaders did, how they behaved. So they moved from looking at leaders to looking at leadership. You'll find a lot of this going on in the 50s and 60s, a whole change in terms of a leadership paradigm. Four main styles show up here. There's the concern for task, concern for people, the directive leadership, and the participative leadership. And what you'll usually see is concern for task is put up against concern for people. Directive leadership is put up against participative leadership. We'll talk about some of these things later on in the semester as we get going. I'll pause here and have you go on to part two.